Good morning, everyone. Whew. My name is Reverend Alice Reid, and I am the spiritual director here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Capistrano Valley, and I want to welcome you here to our gathering this morning. And I want to start our time together and my remarks with a prayer, because I think it's called for right now. I want this prayer to be a prayer for ourselves, a prayer for our nation, a prayer for our soldiers that might be in harm's way, our prayer for anyone that might be in harm's way, and our prayer for our perceived enemies, and also a prayer for our beautiful host, the Baha'i community, who may have family in the Middle East right now. And so I'm going to start this prayer with a quote from Florence Scovel Shinn. "Fear not the appearance. It is only the outpicture and can be changed through the realization of truth." And so as I invite you to bring yourself to that inner space, and perhaps lower your gaze or close your eyes, as I speak this word for keeping the faith. And we bring our attention inward, slowing the breath and watching it. And as I speak this prayer, I speak it in the first person. And I feel my heart beat. And I relax into this now moment. It is here in the stillness that I remember all is well. For the world I see is an outpicture of the world within. I notice an uneasiness and I sense my fear. And I give my attention to it. What is it that wants to be seen, acknowledged, and released within me? I pause and I listen within, breathing into whatever comes up. And in this moment of clarity and heightened awareness, I know truth. I know God is all there is. I know any experience unlike this powerful, creative, loving life force is simply making itself known so that I can reunite myself fully with the one infinite reality. Once again, I am home to the place within me that only knows peace, and I surrender myself to this power so that I may express it as my life in authentic and loving ways. There is no sin, sickness, or death, no separation of any kind, just the appearance of such. I recognize this, and something in me settles. And again, I am at peace, keeping the faith that humanity and all life is simply finding its own way to a greater expression of wholeness. And it is in gratitude that I let go and give my life back to the one from which it came to use me and express through me in creative and powerful ways. I am open and fully available to love, to show up in the world as me this day, and I thank the universe. And so it is. I had to rework my remarks this morning a little bit after I got some news late last night, because I feel like if we can't take our philosophy and apply it to what we're experiencing in everyday life, then it's worthless. It has no use to us. It's poetry or some kind of fanciful thinking. But this philosophy that we are studying, that we're attempting to live out into the world, invites us to walk it out, to practice these principles in whatever way we can, regardless of the experience we're having in the world, regardless of what we're seeing, and regardless of our perceptions, regardless of the dangers that we see around us. There's a Bible quote that goes something like, "What you did for one of the least of my brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." And Jesus of Nazareth is talking about having compassion for those that are struggling, those who are feeling like they're going without, those that are challenged by the events of their lives. And conversely, I think that also talks about when we hurt one another, when we do harm to each other, when we dehumanize one another and devolve into toxic behaviors where force is our only recourse, we clearly, deeply are unaware of our divine nature. We are unaware of our nature, of the spirituality that swells up and lives within us and is all around us. And so as I look at the events in the world today, and I look at in the back of your program, there's a section that says what we believe. These are pretty nice. Thank you so much, Mary Brogdon, for putting these together for us. You did a lovely job. And this, what we believe, was the answer to a question that was asked to Dr. Holmes in the 1920s, 1930s perhaps. What is it that we believe? And he answered that question with these, what I refer to as the declarations of principle. And as you look at these, there's some really big ideas. And the one idea that stands out for me this morning is we believe in the unity of all life and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. And here we are on June 22nd, 2025, still thinking that the solution to any of our problems can be solved by destroying something we care about, by destroying each other, by destroying property, by force, if you will. We still believe that that can be a solution. And I want to say to you that I do, logically, I have an understanding. I comprehend. I'm going to put it that way. I comprehend the fear that caused the action that happened last night in Iran. I totally comprehend the fear that they're going to get us, so we got to get them first. But folks, this is a really old paradigm. It's an old way of behavior. It's an old way of dealing with our differences. It's an old way of fighting the diversity that's in the world of people who live differently than we do, and therefore we feel oppressed, or we feel the need to oppress, we feel the need to apply force, we feel the need to come out on top, feel the need to have an experience where we win so someone else has to lose. These are really old ideas. And I pray that philosophies like ours and the Baha'i tenets and religions that understand the oneness in all life can help elevate humanity to seeing that when I'm dropping bombs in your country, I'm dropping bombs on my brothers and my sisters. When I'm trying to bully someone, when I'm trying to make you see it my way, I'm trapped. There's a model that Stephen Cartman introduced in the late 60s called the drama triangle. Is anybody familiar with the drama triangle? It's a model that describes this behavior that I'm talking about. And basically, in a drama triangle, you have three players. You have the victim, you have the persecutor or the villain, and you have the hero or the rescuer. And in the drama triangle, somebody is trying to ameliorate somebody else's behavior. Somebody is trying to not be a victim, and so they're struggling with why me, and I need help. And somebody is struggling with trying to tell people how it has to be done, and somebody is trying to fix it all. And it's a very toxic triangle, because at any one of these points, we are not seeing our wholeness. We're not seeing our oneness. We're just projecting. We're projecting whatever it is we're experiencing out to somebody else. The victim projects against the villain and also projects that hopefully the rescuer will come and help me. And I got to say something about that, because our culture loves a hero. I'm going to say humanity loves a hero, loves a rescuer. We have had heroes and rescuers from the beginning of time. I went to the movies this week, and I'll get back to the drama triangle, but I think this makes the point for heroes. I went to the movies this week, and I went to see the latest in Mission Impossible. I love film. It's a wonderful art form. And without spoiling the movie for you, Ethan Hunt, all played by Tom Cruise, is the main character, the hero, if you will. And very early in the movie, it becomes clear that all of life and humanity is dependent upon Ethan Hunt. He's the only guy who can save humanity. Now, I'm a thinker. I'm watching this and I'm like, what a God complex we have here. And we superimpose this on our heroes. We superimpose this on our spiritual giants. You may be superimposing some of that on me because I'm the spiritual leader here for Centers for Spiritual Living. We somehow project all the things that we don't believe we ourselves are capable of. So we put it out to someone else. We hope that someone else can do it, and we play small. Or maybe we play the persecutor or the villain who is trying to get it right, to make sure I'm going to protect mine. You see the toxic relationship between the victim and the persecutor and the rescuer? It's a lose-lose as long as we are projecting and looking outside of ourselves. And I see that playing out in last night's events. There's definitely a victim, there's definitely a persecutor, and there's definitely a rescuer. And honestly, when I sort of try to map all that out for myself, I think it's kind of interesting when I look at that idea of the drama triangle. The fact is that unless we begin to integrate all three of those positions, unless we can begin to integrate it within ourselves, we will always be trapped and imprisoned by this model. And the fact is that you can ascribe, again, it's easier to see it outside yourself before you bring it within. You can ascribe those roles, all three of them, to the U.S. The U.S. is a victim because there's nuclear enrichment happening with fuel in the Middle East. The U.S. is the rescuer. They blew up the 3 nuclear enrichment facilities in Iran. The U.S. is the persecutor because it has to make things right. And so I share that with you to say that this drama triangle is simply and merely a projection because for some reason we have not been able to come to terms with our own pain. And if I can't come to terms with whatever needs to be cleared up in me, the projector goes on, and I am projecting that outward in sometimes deadly ways. You know, there's another, like someone tried to elevate the drama triangle into the empowerment triangle, but honestly, it's still a dualistic view. We're still othering. We're still looking at different parts of ourselves that we project onto others. I think the places that we can look at the empowerment, I have to look them up, but in the way we can look at the empowerment triangle is that the persecutor becomes the challenger, and the rescuer becomes the empowerer, and the victim becomes and I can't grab the word for it right now, but it becomes a place where we can begin to raise our awareness. And so that's a much healthier way to be in a dualistic relationship with life. But I want to implore you to consider that healing and wholeness starts right where you are. That the clearing up of this drama triangle, this toxic relationship that we might have with life, begins to come in focus about where we can do something about something that's happening on the other side of the world, when we begin to understand that it's our judgments that make us the persecutor, and it's our own self-judgments and places where we don't really see our greatness, our wholeness, our divinity that makes us the victim. And it's our hero that begins to at least step out and begin to be empowered by this teaching. But I want to say to you, I think we're at a critical point. I think that's this idea of what I experience and everything that I see around me comes from first within me, tells me that we got a lot of people living in the dualistic victim, villain, hero relationship with life. And in order for us to step it up and raise and elevate humanity to that next level, we must begin to learn how to walk out our lives in a more unitive way, to integrate the different parts of ourselves, to integrate the ways that we see the world, to integrate the things that I attribute to you that are living in me too. And when I can begin to integrate those places that I'm triggered, when I can begin to integrate the places where I'm empowered, when I can begin to see all that within myself and to realize my own wholeness, well, then I'm going to see it in you. Because, again, the world I see around me comes from what I believe within me. And so I have to clean up the lens that I'm looking through so that I can begin to see divinity outside of myself. And all around us, and know that we are not separate. And so this situation that we have in our world today that affects all of us in one form or another is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to get clear on what it is and how it is we want to respond to the world. We have a saying here. It's on bumper stickers. We have it on coffee cups. I got it on my wrist bracelet. It says, respond with love. And respond with love does not mean, it's okay to beat me up. It's okay to do harm. I love you. No. Respond with love means to elevate our thinking, our actions, our behavior, our dreams, the ways we want to walk out into the world, that we respond in a loving way that shows our love for our oneness. There are a couple of questions that I think you can ask yourself in times like these. They're to bring your focus clearer, to help you understand how you can really apply this philosophy to challenging situations. And the first question is, where am I still defending myself unnecessarily? Where am I still if you know me, if you work with me, you've seen, and it's just an old habit, right? It's just an old habitual way of being where if something goes wrong and I can't fix it, I have to be defensive about it. But defending keeps us under a shroud, if you will. It keeps us small. It keeps us in that drama triangle. So asking yourself where you're still defending yourself, and I think the important phrase here is unnecessarily. The second question is, where do I celebrate winning at the cost of another's dignity? And I'm not talking about Mexican train, Dan. You have no dignity in Mexican train. I make light because this is heavy. But is there a place where winning becomes more important than the person that you are in relationship with? Whether that relationship is an important relationship, like your significant other or family member, or perhaps that is a relationship with your neighbor, or heck, somebody in the parking lot who jumped in that spot just as you were pulling in. The third question, where do I act from fear, disguised as righteousness? Now that righteousness is a heavy word. And so maybe I could simplify that a little bit because I know it's loaded. Where do I act from fear, disguised as the need for doing the right thing? As long as we are human, we will continue to fall into the tiny little traps of fear and judgment and needing to be right. But here's the deal. As a practitioner of this philosophy, you have the opportunity to recognize it when it comes up and make a different choice. And sometimes you may not know what that choice needs to be. And that's why we need spirit. That's why we need a power greater than ourselves so that we can allow ourselves to be inspired for what is the next thing we need to do in this situation. Believe me, if we could do it on our own, we'd have done it by now. And that's why you're sitting in this room today, and that's why you may be watching this online, because you want to be reminded of who you came here to be. You didn't come here to be a victim. You didn't come here to be a bully. You didn't come here to be a savior. You came here to be an authentic expression of love, exactly as you are. And I want to tell you that regardless of whether we are talking about Iranians, if we're talking about people in the U.S., we're talking about people in Ukraine or Russia, all that us against them, Republican, Democrat, every single one of the beings that inhabit this human form came here to do the same thing. Remember who they are. I forget sometimes, and I notice others that forget because I forget. And so this week, my invitation to you is to to remember that you are spirit taking form. It is incarnated into you to use your beautiful mind and your beautiful heart to move through whatever you are faced with. When I use that term very carefully, move through, not rise above, but move through, so that you may be a change agent, so you may be a love agent, so you may help to discover a new way to be in greater alignment with our spiritual truth of oneness. And stop feeding the otherness creature that seems to be everywhere we look. I started my remarks with this beautiful quote from Florence Scovel Shinn, and I'll end with that. Fear not the appearance. It is only the outer picture and can be changed through the realization of truth. Thank you very much. And I started with prayer, and I'm going to end with prayer. And oddly enough, I'm going to end with a blessing. You may not feel like it's a blessing right now in the world, but I'm going to end with a blessing because it is gratitude that is that generative energy that we can move through. And so I know the power and the presence of the one infinite reality blesses all of life. It blesses those individuals that I align with, and it blesses those individuals that I am not aligned with. It cares not. It simply embodies whatever it is we believe. It simply moves through us, and we are the filters for spirit. And so let us be the filters of oneness. Let us be the filters of love. Let us be the filters of harmony and peace. Let us be the filters of well-being and freedom. All those beautiful qualities that are inherent to the one infinite reality are available to each one. And so I know it is with a grateful heart that we remember this week, that we are always at choice. And I know that we allow ourselves to be infused and inspired by the one infinite reality that wants to experience itself in the highest way with each one of us. And so I am grateful and feel blessed that each one of us have come here to remember who we are, to be a blessing to the world in one form or another, to know our highest truth, and to give thanks for it. And together we say, and so it is.